To thinking is contagious. I am following up that Democratic convention the first night. This is the afternoon after, waiting for the chapter two of this endeavor. And I really started thinking a few over the Democrats and their position. And it's pretty obvious. I'm going to call this one uh, Democratic geometry. Uh, the Democrats have always been the party of cheap labor. They were the Dixiecrats. They were pro Jim Crow. They were pro slavery. They were the biggest slave owners. They were the opposition when Lincoln emancipated the slaves. They've always been this, even through the civil rights movements of the '60s. You know, George Wallace, Strom Thurmond, who was a presidential candidate under the Dixiecrat banner, which was a Confederate flag, Democrat Confederate flag. That's the same Strom Thurmond that Joe Biden gave a eulogy for. I understand that Mr. Thurmond, that is, before he died, had repented, but nonetheless. So they're the party of cheap labor. Continues now. Even your vice presidential candidate is Kamala Harris is guilty of keeping people imprisoned under the guise that if she let them go, commuted their sentences, which they were entitled to under a mandate out in California, 2010, 2011, they needed prison space. And they were able to commute sentences of nonviolent offenders. And she fought it, opposed it, kept them in prison. And her excuse was, who's going to help? How's California going to make up for the loss of that free labor? California uses prison labor for the fires, the wildfires, and for the landscaping and the cleanup and the maintenance of roads and highways, and like a lot of other municipalities do. But that was her excuse. So that's, like I said before, I know got a little controversial. People made a couple of comments because I labeled it slavery. Is that really slavery? I understand, but it's the same premise. It's just sanitized by the Democrats and the liberals. So let's go to that premise and the fact that since the civil rights movements, now the Democrats will tell you that they have been the biggest advocates for the poor people, for the underprivileged, for those who don't have opportunity, for those who don't have money. So they've been in charge of writing that for 50 plus years now. They haven't done anything. Joe Biden's been in power for 40 plus years, has been an elected official for 40 plus years, including 8 years as the second most powerful person in the United States, maybe even in the world, as the right-hand man to Barack Obama. So for 50 plus years, why haven't they remedied it or done anything to remedy it? And why is it now that they're realizing how horrible it is? What have they been doing? I'll tell you what they've been doing. See, the Democrats understand how things work. They understand that the audience that doesn't have money and is poor and counts on the government for handouts is always going to support the government and is always going to vote for take from the rich, give to the poor. What happens to the Democrats, they realize that as people come to this country and as people assimilate and as people become educated and as people learn the language and as people move up the ladder with their ambition, the reason they came here, looking for opportunity, and most of them find that they come here. The biggest problem seems to be the people who were born here that are having the biggest problem. But the people who come here find opportunity, and as they move up the ladder and their paycheck increases and they realize how much work it really takes to make a dollar, how much time, energy, and effort, how hard you have to work, they suddenly realize that, you know what, I don't know if this Robin Hood stuff, this take from the rich and give to the poor, is such a good idea. I'm really leaving a lot of my paycheck on the table, for people that they're asking for a handout. I'm benevolent, I want to help, but I got to take care of my family. So what happens? the attrition of that voter goes away from the Democrats' voting roll, and they realize they're losing those people. So what do they have to do? They have to push to let newly arrived people replace those. They push for, like they have been now with their ridiculous undocumented, their ridiculous efforts to have felons vote, their ridiculous efforts to increase and augment the voting rolls based on people that are going to be more the recipient of the Robin Hood theory than the giver in the Robin Hood theory. And then obviously they incorporate students, young people. And I talk to young people all the time. I know a lot of young people, my kids' ages, early and mid 30s, who, when they were 20 years old, they were liberals. Now they've been out, they've been working, they're making a nice chunk of change, they've moved up in the world, they're in good positions, and all of a sudden they're not liberals anymore. They're Republicans, or they're at least independents, and are middle of the road, and are pretty conservative, fiscally pretty conservative. And the first thing that they'll tell you is, hey, I'm willing to help people who really need to be helped, but too much of our dollars are going to people that just don't want to do anything. And that's why the Democrats have their push all the time to replace, as people move up and move away from their party, they need to replace those votes. And that is how they refill the voting polls on their behalf. So next time that you see these Democrats on there saying how concerned they are and how they want to help the poor, none of them are poor. None of them are being stopped from donating more, writing checks to the IRS. I remember when Warren Buffett said that he was embarrassed that his secretary had a higher tax bracket, paid more in taxes percentage-wise than he did. Whose fault is that? That's how the rules are set up. That's how you made your billions, based on those tax laws. No one broke the law. And by the way, if you felt so horrible about it, you could have paid her taxes. You could have written an extra check to the IRS in addition to whatever it was that you owed. You could have foregone your deductions, your legal deductions, which I don't think you should have, but you could have. Same with Bill Gates. Same with all these liberals. So people will ask me, how come so many rich, real rich people are so liberal? And I'll tell you why. Because they understand that they want to be on the side that has the most support from the biggest amount of people. And unfortunately, in this world, yes, the rich, or the upper middle class and rich, is a smaller percentage of the overall population than the middle class and the lower income class. Okay, so these very, very rich people want to be known and want it to be heard how much they are in support of that 60 or 70% of the population, because they feel safer that way. Okay, I know this is all very controversial, and I know what the narrative is going to be, racism, or whatever you guys want to say. It has nothing to do with race. I haven't brought up any race here. I brought up the socio-economic issues in this country. The problem in this country is cultural. It's not racial. There's no systemic racism in this country. There's a cultural problem. Okay? The people who claim that there's no opportunity in this country, the actions of the world are a direct contradiction, a direct refutation of that fact. They refutes that fact, because people come here for opportunity. They risk their lives to get here for the opportunity. And when they get here, they seize that opportunity. And they don't look for a crutch, because the crutch isn't there for them. or wasn't there. Lately, it has become more and more of a crutch. But again, I've mentioned this before too. You look at, and I talk about Miami. Look at the influx from the 60s, late 50s, early 60s into Miami. And see where those people are in the socioeconomic level, pecking order. See where they are. They came without the language. They came without education that was recognized here. But they came with a tremendous willingness to do whatever it took not to have to go back to a socialist regime. And guess what we're seeing here now? An attempt to implement socialism into this country by the liberals. And why is that attempt being made? It is being made, again, not for the benefit of people, anyone. It is being made for the benefit of the ruling class that seeks to control the masses. Look at what happened in Cuba. Look at what happened in Venezuela. If you elect a Joe Biden, he's not a socialist. I'm going to tell you right now. But Joe Biden is a shell of a man. He is frail, and he is the Trojan horse that they have put up. They will be the first. It's like the praying mantis, okay? The female praying mantis, after it breeds with the male, immediately turns around and eats the male, okay? That's what you will see with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, the praying mantis. Joe Biden is the Trojan horse. He's being used to open the gates because he's not threatening. That's the only reason, because 2 years ago, no one could tolerate him. They all attacked him. But he is the most palatable way to get to the moderates in this country. But be not fooled. Be not fooled. Once he's in, if he won't be, but let us suppose, in their mind, what they're saying, once he's in, he is to be discarded. And you will see the AOCs of this world. You will see the Kamala Harrises of this world. You will see the liberal left, the socialist Bernie Sanders of this world, attempting to put the stamp on this country and destroy everything that made it great. Don't let that happen. Do not let that happen. I also don't understand one thing. I think that what I am offering through this platform is pretty good. I think it's thoughtful, thought out, and the subscribers, I think, are lagging. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. You're not going to be threatened. You're not going to be bombarded with emails. Nothing bad is going to happen. But it does need this platform, if you think it's worthwhile. And obviously at this point you don't, so that could be it. I have to accept blame that it's not worthy of your subscription. But if it is worthy of your subscription, please subscribe. I thank you, and I hope that this one really hit the spot.